And now to McDonald's, which saw another month of worse than expected sales in the U.S. and globally. The company, which is pretty much synonymous with fast food, has seen traffic and profits fall.
They called it the golden standard of fast food. But something strange is happening beneath those arches. Millions are boycotting McDonald's. And the reason why might not be what you think. For decades, McDonald's was untouchable, a global icon built on speed, consistency, and comfort. But now, loyal customers are turning away in record numbers. Some say it's the prices, how a simple meal now costs nearly twice what it used to. Others swear the food just doesn't taste the same, that the fries have lost their crunch, the burgers their flavor, and the magic their spark. And then there are those who say it's deeper, that it's about health, trust, and the uneasy feeling that this billion-dollar empire no longer serves the people it was built for. Across America, families are asking hard questions. Why does a value meal feel like a luxury? Why do the workers behind the counter look more stressed than ever? And why does the company that once promised simplicity now feel like it's hiding behind apps, gimmicks, and marketing tricks? Something is shifting, not just in fast food, but in how people see corporate giants. Because when millions walk away from the world's most recognizable brand, it's not just about the food anymore. You're watching The Corporate Back Door, where we pull back the curtain on the stories corporate America doesn't want you to see. For the first time in decades, the golden arches that once symbolized fast food supremacy are starting to dim. McDonald's, the brand that defined convenience for millions of families, is suddenly losing its audience, not in a few locations, but across the globe. In early 2025, internal reports revealed a troubling trend. U.S. comparable sales dropped by 3.6%. On paper, that number looks small, but in corporate reality, it's devastating. For a company that serves nearly 70 million people every single day, a drop like that means millions of regular customers simply walked away. Globally, the pattern is the same. Fewer customers, smaller profits, and slower traffic through drive-thrus that once never stopped moving. To the public, McDonald's framed it as economic pressure and shifting consumer habits. But talk to the people who used to visit 2 or 3 times a week, and a different story emerges. One that's less about economics and more about emotion. Because for millions of families, McDonald's wasn't just a restaurant, it was a ritual. The after-school stop, the weekend treat, the place where a few crumpled bills could buy a warm meal, and a moment of comfort. Now that same order, a burger, fries, and a drink costs nearly double what it did only a few years ago, and somehow it doesn't even feel the same. Inside the stores, the shift is visible. Lines are shorter, booths once filled with noisy kids sit empty. The atmosphere that once buzzed with familiarity now feels hollow, transactional, almost cold. And while inflation has touched every industry, the disappointment customers feel toward McDonald's runs deeper than rising prices. For decades, the company's unspoken promise was simple. Anyone could afford to eat there. It was the great equalizer of the modern world, a place where a construction worker, a student, and a CEO could all order the same meal. That idea built an empire. But as prices climb and customers feel the value slipping away, that empire is starting to crack. Even loyalists, people who've eaten at McDonald's for 40 years, are admitting they've cut back. Some say they visit once a month now instead of every week. Others say they've stopped entirely, opting to cook at home because it's cheaper, healthier, and somehow more satisfying. When a brand as iconic as McDonald's loses not just casual visitors but lifelong fans, it's more than a business problem. It's a cultural turning point. Because McDonald's wasn't built on luxury, it was built on trust. On the idea that no matter where you were in the world, the food, the price, and the experience would always feel familiar. Today, that trust is eroding, quietly, steadily, one disappointed customer at a time. And while corporate leaders can tweak marketing slogans or roll out new app deals, they can't easily repair the feeling that something essential has been lost. The Golden Arches aren't just facing a sales slump, they're facing an identity crisis. Because when a company forgets what made people fall in love with it in the first place, no amount of advertising can bring them back. Walk into a McDonald's today, and you can almost feel it, that moment of hesitation before ordering. The same hesitation millions of Americans are feeling when they look up at the menu board and realize that their go-to meal has quietly crept out of reach. Once upon a time, a family of 4 could pull into a McDonald's drive-thru and grab dinner without thinking twice. A Big Mac combo, a few cheeseburgers, maybe a couple of Happy Meals, all for less than $20. But in 2025, that same order can push past $40, sometimes even $50, depending on where you live. The dollar menu, once the brand's proudest promise, has vanished completely, replaced by so-called value deals that somehow cost 3 or 4 times what they used to, and people have noticed. One longtime customer summed it up perfectly. When fast food costs more than a sit-down restaurant, something's gone wrong. That feeling isn't just about price, it's about betrayal. McDonald's built its empire by being the everyman's meal, the affordable comfort in a busy world. But now customers say it feels like the company is nickel and diming them at every turn. Analysts point to inflation, rising supply costs, and higher wages. But even when you adjust for all of that, McDonald's prices have climbed faster than the national average. A Big Mac that cost around $3 in 2010 now sits close to $6 in many areas. A basic combo meal can cross the $10 mark, and that's before you add extra cheese, bacon, or a larger drink. For families living paycheck to paycheck, that kind of price creep isn't just inconvenient, it's alienating. The idea that McDonald's was the affordable choice is starting to sound like a relic from another era. And yet what frustrates customers most isn't just the cost, it's the illusion of savings. McDonald's continues to market value bundles and limited time deals that promise affordability but rarely deliver it. A 2 for $5 deal that used to feel like a bargain now includes smaller portions or items nobody really wants. It's the fast food version of shrinkflation. The price tag looks familiar, but the value quietly disappears. The shift has been especially hard on older Americans, the same generation that helped build McDonald's into a global powerhouse. They remember the joy of walking in with a few dollars and leaving satisfied. Now, many say they feel priced out of the very restaurant they helped make famous. The irony is painful. McDonald's became a billion-dollar brand by serving everyone. Now it's struggling to justify why a burger and fries cost as much as an actual restaurant meal, without offering the same quality or experience. And while the company continues to promote new pricing models and premium menu options, customers see it differently. To them, it's not innovation, it's greed. It's the slow erosion of a promise that once defined American fast food. That no matter who you were, you could walk into McDonald's, order your favorite meal, and feel like you got your money's worth. That promise is gone. And with it, the loyalty of millions who no longer see McDonald's as the affordable, familiar brand it once was. Because in the end, the Golden Arches didn't just raise their prices, they raised expectations they can no longer meet. For generations, McDonald's didn't just sell food, it sold a feeling. The smell of fries drifting through the air, the sizzle of burgers on the grill, the taste that felt instantly familiar no matter where you were in the world. That was McDonald's magic. But somewhere along the way, that magic started to fade. Longtime fans are saying what many others have quietly suspected. It just doesn't taste the same anymore. The fries that once defined the fast food world are being compared to soggy matchsticks. The burgers? Smaller, thinner, and strangely bland, missing the rich, salty flavor that made them addictive for decades. Even the milkshakes, once thick enough to bend a straw, now feel watered down, more artificial than ever. It's not nostalgia talking, it's change you can taste. Over the years, McDonald's has repeatedly tweaked its recipes, often quietly, sometimes to cut costs, sometimes to meet new health regulations, and sometimes to chase whatever marketing trend looked good in a boardroom. But each small change, a different oil blend here, a new preservative there, moved the food further away from what made people fall in love with it in the first place. It's a pattern that's easy to overlook, but impossible to ignore. Older customers, who remember the fries cooked in beef tallow back in the 80s, swear nothing has tasted quite right since. Even younger generations who grew up in the era of healthy reformulations can tell something's off. The consistency, the aroma, the signature flavor that once defined the brand has thinned out. And McDonald's knows it. The company has quietly run internal surveys showing lower customer satisfaction scores tied specifically to taste and texture. In other words, people aren't just complaining about prices. They're saying the product itself no longer feels worth it. Social media is filled with posts from former loyalists describing the same disappointment. My Big Mac used to feel like a treat. Now it tastes like cafeteria food. I used to crave McDonald's fries. Now I finish them out of habit, not hunger. These aren't isolated comments. They're symptoms of a brand that's lost its spark. Part of the problem lies in the ingredients. To meet cost and supply goals, McDonald's has shifted to cheaper blends of oils, modified starches, and flavor enhancement compounds that maintain shelf life but dull the natural taste. Add to that the smaller portions, thinner patties, lighter buns, and you get a meal that looks familiar but feels hollow. It's the same golden wrapper, but the soul inside is missing. And when you combine higher prices with lower satisfaction, something breaks. People start to wonder why they're paying more for food that no longer brings them joy. They start staying home, cooking their own burgers, rediscovering what real flavor tastes like. Because McDonald's isn't just losing customers over dollars, it's losing them over memory. That bite of nostalgia, that comforting flavor from childhood, it's gone. And once a brand loses that emotional connection, it's not just the food that changes, it's the feeling that disappears with it. There was a time when nobody questioned what was in a Big Mac, when fast meant convenient, cheap meant accessible, and food meant, well, something you didn't think too hard about. But that time is over. Over the past few years, something remarkable has happened. The same generations that built McDonald's success are now walking away from it. Baby boomers and Gen X, the loyal customers who made those golden arches a global icon, are suddenly reading nutrition labels, counting sodium, and paying attention to ingredients in a way they never did before. And what they're finding has changed everything. One customer put it bluntly, "My usual quarter-pounder meal has more sodium than a bag of road salt." It sounds like an exaggeration, but the numbers don't lie. A single Big Mac contains over 1,000 milligrams of sodium, nearly half the daily recommended limit. Add fries and a soda, and you're well past the threshold in a single sitting. The shift didn't happen overnight. It started quietly during lockdowns, when millions of people were forced to cook at home. For the first time in years, they knew exactly what was going into their meals. They learned how to season their own burgers, control their salt, choose real ingredients instead of processed ones. And when restaurants reopened, something unexpected happened. Fast food didn't taste as good anymore. Not because McDonald's had changed, though it had, but because people had. Health consciousness has become a cultural force. Nearly 1 in 3 adults now actively avoids fast food for health reasons, and McDonald's sits squarely in the crosshairs of that new awareness. For many, it's no longer just about calories, it's about chemicals. Because once you start reading the ingredient list, it's hard to stop. The milkshake base that sounds like a science experiment, the preservatives with names you can't pronounce, the natural flavors that are anything but natural. For a company that once built its image on transparency and trust, those labels have become a liability. And here's the irony: McDonald's tried to pivot. They added salads, fruit bags, grilled options, but by then the damage was done. The same customers they were trying to win back had already discovered something better: real food, made at home. Farmers markets began booming. Meal prep culture exploded. People realized they could eat better and spend less doing it. What's happening now isn't just a boycott, it's a behavioral rebellion, a rejection of decades of convenience culture, replaced with a craving for authenticity and control. Because when eating McDonald's makes you feel sluggish, bloated, or guilty, that golden glow fades fast. Even longtime loyalists, people who once wore those paper crowns and celebrated birthdays under the arches, are rethinking what they feed their families. It's not about nostalgia anymore, it's about survival. And as more Americans take charge of their health, McDonald's finds itself facing an uncomfortable truth. In a world where wellness sells, fast food no longer feels like comfort, it feels like a warning. For decades, McDonald's sold something more valuable than burgers. It sold clarity. You walked in, glanced at the board, and knew exactly what you were getting. No fine print, no hoops to jump through, just fast food done fast. But somewhere along the way, that clarity vanished. In its place came a web of app-exclusive discounts, loyalty points, and rotating value bundles that feel more like riddles than rewards. What used to be a $5 combo now hides behind a maze of promo codes, QR scans, and expiration dates that change faster than the menu itself. For younger, tech-savvy customers, it's an irritation. For older generations, the backbone of McDonald's early success, it's alienation. They don't want to download an app or link a credit card just to save a few cents. They want to walk in, order their meal, and feel like the company values their time, not their data. One retired customer in Ohio put it perfectly: "I used to grab lunch at McDonald's twice a week. Now I skip it because I can't even tell what's on sale anymore." And she's not exaggerating. Surveys show that more than 40% of fast food customers now avoid restaurants with confusing digital promotions altogether. They're tired of chasing discounts that vanish the moment they reach the counter, or finding out that a special offer only applies in select zip codes. The irony is hard to miss. McDonald's became famous for being the easy choice. Now, it's one of the most complicated. Every new reward system or limited time deal chips away at the one thing that made people love it in the first place: convenience. Because loyalty can't be gamified. You can't win it back with points or push notifications. You win it with trust, honesty, and simplicity. The very things McDonald's seems to have lost. So when people delete the app and drive past those golden arches, they're not just skipping a meal. They're rejecting a system that stopped feeling human. If you've ever found yourself rolling your eyes at yet another exclusive deal that doesn't actually save you money, you're not alone. And if you want to know how these marketing tricks became the new normal in corporate America, make sure you stay tuned and subscribe to The Corporate Backdoor for more investigations that reveal what's really hiding behind the slogans. Walk into almost any McDonald's today and you'll feel it before you even place your order. Something's off. The smiles look strained. The energy feels heavy. The rhythm that once defined fast food has slowed to a crawl. Behind those counters, workers are stretched thin, juggling orders, short staffing, and the kind of pressure that no amount of minimum wage can make worth it. For decades, McDonald's built its reputation on efficiency: hot food, fast service, friendly faces. But now, that foundation is cracking. Industry reports reveal that worker satisfaction inside McDonald's locations has hit its lowest point in over a decade. Labor shortages, pay disputes, and chaotic scheduling have turned many kitchens into pressure cookers. In some restaurants, a single employee might handle the grill, drive-through, and register all at once. It's no surprise that customers are waiting longer and that the quality and the atmosphere are paying the price. When workers are exhausted, the food suffers, the service slows, and that cheerful welcome to McDonald's starts to sound more like a sigh than a greeting. But it's not just about service, it's about empathy, because customers can sense when people behind the counter are struggling. Older Americans, many of whom once flipped burgers there themselves, are walking away not out of anger, but out of sadness. They see their grandkids in those tired faces. They recognize that look of burnout, that quiet frustration of trying to do too much for too little. And in a strange twist, guilt is driving them away faster than bad food ever could. It's a feedback loop that no marketing campaign can fix. Underpaid workers means slower service. Slower service means fewer customers. Fewer customers mean tighter budgets, and even more pressure on the people left behind. McDonald's executives call it an operational challenge. But to the people who actually run the restaurants, it's something else entirely. A daily struggle to stay afloat in a system that no longer feels human. The fast in fast food has vanished, and so has the heart. Because when the people serving the food stop smiling, it's only a matter of time before the customers stop showing up. For half a century, McDonald's didn't just sell food, it sold belonging. It was woven into childhoods, road trips, and Friday night traditions. The golden arches were more than a logo. They were a promise that no matter where you went, something familiar was waiting for you. But that promise has been broken. Across America, loyalty to McDonald's, once unshakable, is fading faster than the glow of a neon sign at closing time. And the shift didn't start with Gen Z or millennials. It started with the people who built McDonald's empire, baby boomers and Gen X. These are the same customers who remember sitting in the back seat with a Happy Meal, who watched McDonald's grow from a local diner to a global powerhouse. Now they're leading the boycott. Not out of outrage, but out of exhaustion. They say the brand no longer represents what it once did. The food feels different. The prices feel unfair. The experience feels hollow. And in a world where small-town diners remember your name, McDonald's has started to feel cold, a corporate machine that forgot its customers somewhere along the way. One former regular put it simply, "Sticking with McDonald's feels like refusing to move on. The world's changed, and they haven't." That sentiment echoes everywhere. Communities that once proudly welcomed new McDonald's locations are now championing local alternatives, small cafes, family restaurants, independent burger joints that care more about connection than convenience. And it's working. The numbers don't lie. In June of 2025, a week-long boycott organized by the People's Union sent McDonald's traffic plunging across multiple states. Executives called it a temporary consumer response. But for millions of Americans, it was more than that. It was a statement, a quiet declaration that loyalty must be earned, not assumed. The Golden Arches built an empire on nostalgia. Now that nostalgia has turned into a mirror, reflecting everything McDonald's lost along the way: trust, simplicity, and a sense of community. Because when the generation that made you great decides they've had enough, it's not just a phase, it's the end of an era. As McDonald's struggles to hold on to its fading loyalty, something unexpected is happening on the streets of America. In small towns and suburbs, neon arches are giving way to chalkboard menus. The drive-through line that once defined convenience is being replaced by the sound of real conversation and the smell of food that was actually made fresh. Across the country, local diners, food trucks, and family-owned cafes are quietly reclaiming the customers the Golden Arches left behind. They don't have billion-dollar marketing budgets or sleek digital apps, but they have something McDonald's no longer does: connection. At Jim's Grill in Ohio, the owner knows every customer by name. In small towns across Texas and Kansas, mom-and-pop burger joints are thriving, not because they're cheaper, but because they feel real. They offer eye contact instead of mobile codes, conversation instead of algorithms. It's food that comes with a face, not a corporate slogan. And that's what people have been missing. After decades of being told that faster and bigger was better, Americans are rediscovering the comfort of small-scale dining, where the fries aren't identical, but the service is genuine, where the meal might take a few extra minutes, but it's worth the wait. The irony couldn't be sharper. McDonald's once destroyed local competition by being faster, cheaper, and more efficient. Now those same local spots are taking customers back by offering the very things McDonald's lost: patience, authenticity, and care. A recent consumer study revealed that more than half of Americans now prefer to buy local when dining out, even if it costs slightly more. It's not just about food, it's about values. People want to support real families, not faceless corporations. They want their dollars to stay in their communities, not disappear into a global profit machine. And while McDonald's tries to regain trust through ad campaigns and celebrity collaborations, local owners are winning it the old-fashioned way, one honest meal at a time. The Golden Arches may have defined the 20th century, but the 21st belongs to the small, the genuine, and the local. Because when people choose food that feels human again, the biggest brand in the world suddenly feels very small. Somewhere inside a glass tower in Chicago, McDonald's executives are celebrating record efficiency metrics. But down in the restaurants, it's a very different story. For decades, McDonald's built its empire by promising the same thing to everyone: affordable food, consistent quality, and a place where ordinary people could feel welcome. But as the company grew, that promise was replaced by something colder: spreadsheets, quarterly targets, and cost-cutting dressed up as innovation. The people making the decisions no longer eat where their customers do. They don't stand in 20-minute lines, they don't struggle with a broken ice cream machine, and they certainly don't feel the sting of a $10 combo meal. They're too far removed from the world that built their fortune. Every move McDonald's makes now seems designed for Wall Street, not Main Street. When they push app-only discounts, it's not about convenience, it's about data. When they shrink the burgers but raise the prices, it's not about sustainability, it's about margins. And when they quietly switch ingredients or reduce portions, it's not about health, it's about cutting costs one fraction of a cent at a time. To the executives, these are strategic adjustments. To the public, they're betrayals. Because what McDonald's forgot is that its power never came from profits, it came from people. The single parent grabbing dinner after a long shift, the retiree buying fries for their grandkids, the teenager sharing a milkshake on their first date. These are the moments that made McDonald's iconic, and they can't be captured in a quarterly report. Now, the disconnect is too wide to ignore. The Golden Arches once stood for community, now they stand for corporate excess. The same brand that promised to bring people together has become a symbol of everything wrong with modern consumer culture: greed, waste, and indifference. It's not just that people are boycotting McDonald's, it's that they've stopped believing it cares. And when a company loses that, when profit becomes the only language it speaks, the numbers might rise for a while, but the soul of the brand is gone for good. Because no matter how big the empire gets, you can't buy back trust once you've sold it. This isn't just about burgers. It's not even about McDonald's. It's about what happens when a company forgets why people showed up in the first place. For years, the Golden Arches stood for something bigger than food. They stood for familiarity, comfort, and the idea that anyone, anywhere could sit down and share the same meal. But that vision has cracked. Because behind every corporate slogan and limited-time deal, there's a growing truth that millions of people are finally seeing for what it is, that the system isn't built for them anymore. When families can't afford the meal that once defined affordability, when the food no longer tastes like the memories it was built on, when the people serving it look too tired to smile, that's not just a marketing problem, that's a cultural reckoning. McDonald's became the face of fast food. Now it's becoming the face of something else. What happens when profit outweighs people? And the boycott isn't just punishment. It's a message. It's a sign that Americans, from teenagers to retirees, are waking up to the quiet realization that they don't have to accept less for more, that they don't have to buy into a system that treats loyalty like a metric instead of a relationship, and that maybe, just maybe, it's time to take their appetite and their money somewhere that still values both. Because at its core, this story isn't about a company losing customers. It's about people reclaiming choice, reclaiming community, and remembering that fast food doesn't have to mean soulless food. The Golden Arches may still stand tall, but the foundation beneath them, the trust, the love, the meaning, is already crumbling. And as millions walk away, one quiet truth becomes impossible to ignore. McDonald's didn't just lose the market, it lost the people who made it matter. You're watching The Corporate Back Door, where we uncover the stories corporate America hopes you never notice. If this story opened your eyes, take a moment to look at the playlist on your screen. Every video there exposes another piece of the system, the hidden costs, the broken promises, and the corporations hoping you'll stay distracted. Watch the next one and see just how deep this really goes.